So when I bus different elements together, there's a general kind of order in which I do things. First, I put the kick and the bass to the same bus, and that's because the relationship between the kick and the bass is super important. And it's like the underlying foundation of the whole track. And then I put all of the drums together, and then sometimes I'll put all of the drums together with the kick and the bass just to do a little bit more processing before I get to the mastering stage. But anyway, first things first, I'm just gonna create an audio track. I'll create another one. I'll call this one K and B for kick and bass. And I'll call this one drums. And I color them nice, both and bright, so I know that they are buses. So what I do, let's go to the mixer view. It's a bit easier. Close those. So turn on the routing options, audio to K and B for the kick, and audio to K and B for the bass. And then we need to go to the bus itself, which is here, and then monitor it and turn on. And the idea of this is to just make it pop and glue it together a bit more. Now, I would usually use third-party plugins for this. In fact, I'm just going to change the view to be a bit smaller, a bit harder to see, but then everything's in one place. So the first thing I would usually do for this would be to add a saturation plugin. You can use the Ableton Live plugin, but usually I would use something like Kush Audio's Omega 458. So let's listen, see what that does. Just add some more harmonics, which is really great, but I want you to be able to open this in Ableton. So I'm going to try and achieve something similar with the stock plugins. So I'll get the saturator. And the gain staging is really important here, so we can actually hear the effects that it's doing instead of just increasing the volume, because that's going to make us think that it sounds better anyway by default. And the way I do that is, let's just loop the first part of that. So before we put the saturator on, let's see what this is peaking at. About minus 10. When we put the saturator on, it is peaking at, okay, the same. So it hasn't actually increased the peak volume at all, just the average volume. That's great. That's exactly what we're after. So you can already hear it sounds louder and in your face. Now I will put on a glue compressor, and I'll just add a very small amount of gain reduction here, like 1 or 2 dB, and this just glues it together. Put the release to automatic. And then make up gain by the amount you've reduced it by. So off. It's very subtle here. You don't want to completely kill the life out of it. So that's all the bus processing we need to do for the kick and the bass. Now let's look at the drum bus processing. What we're going to do here is just, including the drum rack, all of the drums, we're going to send that through to, select them all and send them through to our drum bus. Let's again, input, monitoring, let's listen. And in a similar way, we are going to add some saturation. minus 10.6 with it on, with it off. It's the same. So yeah, this saturator is actually pretty cool. So you can hear it sounds crispier and louder because we're just adding harmonics. And I might add a glue compressor as well, just to rein in the extremes. Just to rein in those transient kicks. So that's off. Now you are reducing the dynamic range here, which is the difference between the quietest point and the loudest point. So if you do it too much, you're going to kill the dynamics and just squash it into a horrible big mess. You don't want that. So now let's listen to them together. I actually want to boost these. Now I'll take the kick and the bass down. It's quite overbearing now. So before any processing, let's just group them together so we can hear the difference. Turn it off. Turn it off. That's what we had before. Now we have this. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be complex. If it doesn't need loads and loads of processing, it can be tempting to over-process it, but I'm not going to do that. I might add some to the vocals as well. They're already in a group, so I won't process them with anything else. So I'm going to add some saturation to the group. Just makes it pop a bit more. Now that effect with the piano is just a low pass filter, moving the frequency up so you can hear more of the high frequencies over time, which is a classic move in dance music. Now the riser seems to be off. So that's it for the bus processing. As a quick example, we have gone from this to this.